Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I want to tell you my story with anxiety, my experience with it and where I'm at today with it. I really wanted to share this story for anyone who is suffering with anxiety, just to know that you're not alone and then there is light at the end of the tunnel. I think when you suffer with anxiety, you really feel like you're alone. Nobody knows how you're feeling or what it's like to go through or anything. Like you just feel alone. And I just want to share this with you guys so you know that you're not alone. There's a lot of people out there who feel exactly the same way you do. I was one of them, and also that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that you will get through this and you can get through this. So yeah, that's what I want to do today. I want to share that with you. I think it's really important to know that like there's so many people out there who are like you. Like we're all very similar. As I Am Positive Mindset says, like we're all a lot more similar than we are different, or something along those lines. But I think that's a really, really important message. So yeah, I just want to tell you my story and my experience with anxiety. So I suppose my story with anxiety kind of begins around just when I was going into 6th year of school. So I would have been 17 at the time. And that was the first time that I really noticed my anxiety. I'm not saying I didn't have it from before, because I think looking back like on the way I was in previous years, like prior to that, I do think I definitely did like have some symptoms of anxiety, or like did things that people with suffering from anxiety would do. I'm also someone who's very hard on myself and I'm a perfectionist. I'm gonna say was, because I'm working on it and I'm getting myself, I'm not as bad as I was back then. So anyway, I was really hard on myself, so I did have like tendencies to cry or to get frustrated and kind of get mad at myself and have a panic attack or something. But yeah, it officially started, let's say, when I was about 17 going into 6th year. And I didn't know what it was. I had no clue. I didn't know anyone that suffered with anxiety. I don't think, like when I suffered from it, I don't think it was like as widely known as it is now, and like that's not many years ago. I'm not saying it wasn't, it could have been, but I wasn't aware of it anyway. And I was having these panic attacks, and my symptoms then was I'd have a headache all of the time. I wasn't really sleeping at night, so I couldn't go to sleep at night, and then when I did, it was a really like broken or disturbed sleep. Then when I was feeling anxious, I would get like clammy hands, I'd have heart palpitations, I'd start to have problems breathing, my eyesight would go all fuzzy, and then my hearing would go all fuzzy. And then when I'd have a panic attack, then I'd have those symptoms would continue. My hands would begin to shake and I'd just start crying, like I just couldn't stop crying. So that was me when I had a panic attack / feeling anxious. And I usually had these panic attacks when I was by myself. I used to have them maybe like a couple of times a week. And yeah, I'd be by myself because I didn't want anyone to see me like that. Like I didn't know what it was, so how was I supposed to explain why this was happening? I didn't know what like people would think, and yeah, I didn't know what it was, so I didn't want to show it to anybody because how was I going to explain it? So I tended to have them when I was by myself. So whether that was like in the bathroom in school, or I have like a really vivid memory of me being in the car with my dad and him running into the shop. And when he went into the shop, I had a full-on panic attack in the car by myself, crying, couldn't hear, couldn't see, shaking hands, and then just like was trying to figure out what was going on, but trying to like get myself together before he came back so he wouldn't see. And yeah, that was kind of how it was. It's just by myself, and as I said, headaches all the time and not really sleeping at night. I also didn't really like to go out. Like I never go to Blanche, which is like the local shopping centre to me, and I would hate to go to Blanche. And if I was going to Blanche, I'd have to make sure that the person I was meeting was inside, like where our spot was to meet. I'd have to make sure that they were there before I'd get out of the car to go in. And I think like part of the reason that I my anxiety came on was definitely partly school related. As I said, I was in 6th year, which was my leaving cert, and that's a really stressful time for young people. I'm not going to go into great detail about it because if I do, we'll be here till next Christmas because I have strong feelings on the education system. But anyway, it's a stressful time for kids. Young people put a lot of pressure on themselves, I feel. You don't know what's going on at home. I was lucky that my parents didn't ever like kind of put a lot of didn't put pressure on me. They just asked me to do my best, and that's all I could do. And I think that is the case for a lot of homes, especially today, but you never know. Parents could expect their kids to get a certain grade, or siblings, there might be like pressure from siblings, like not directly from siblings, but like if you have an older sister or brother who's done really well, you might put pressure on yourself to do as well as them, which don't do. That's not me telling you to do that, that's just my analogy. And then also, like, I think school puts a lot of pressure on you, and I'm not saying like it's the teacher's fault or anything, because as well I think nowadays we're all a lot more aware, but there is certain things that you can say and you don't know how someone is going to perceive when they're feeling vulnerable. So yeah, I think that's just something we all need to be mindful. But anyway, that's where all the pressures come from, I think. And that was obviously part of the reason why I was feeling so anxious. I was putting so much pressure on myself to get a certain grade and to get certain points to get into a certain course that I wanted. And then after Christmas, which is around the time of the mocks, I did something that I'm not proud of, and it's not something that I'd hate to hear anybody else do, and that's I stopped eating for a couple of weeks before the mocks because I was so stressed, and I lost a lot of weight. So because I lost weight, my clothes didn't fit me well, and I just wouldn't go out because I didn't like how I looked in anything, or how I just looked in general. But yeah, it's something that, like, if I heard one of my cousins or anyone that like I knew, or anyone just in general, that's what they were doing, like, I genuinely it would break my heart because I did it, and it's not something I'm proud of, and like it's not something that I should have done, and what difference did it make? None. But anyway, I told my dad, like, when I stopped eating, obviously my dad knew, and I told him about me not sleeping and the panic attacks and things like that. So we decided to go to the doctors, and the doctor basically told me that I suffered really badly with anxiety, and that if I didn't calm myself down, I was going to end up putting myself into hospital. So I think that was a bit of a wake-up call for me, because I didn't want to go into hospital, obviously, especially for something like this. And I think, like, I just kind of pushed down my mind. I was like, look, Lauren, just keep going, you get over it, like, it'll be fine. Push it to one side, keep trucking on. And that's what I did. It didn't go away. Like, I still had the panic attacks and all the type of stuff, but I was just like, just get to the leaving cert. So I did do the leaving cert, and like I was fine. When I got my results, I did cry because I wasn't happy with them at all. But then I did end up getting the course I wanted in the first round. So there you go. Like, if you don't get the results you wanted and you're like me and you cry about it, which is not worth it, you never know. Like, I still got my course, and on the first round, so it all worked out, and I went into college saying, no, this is it, I'm going to be a different person, I'm going to be the person that I want to be and believe I am deep down, which is the person I think I am now, which is confident in themselves, outgoing, like would talk to anybody. So that's how I went into college, and I kind of had the attitude as well that nobody knew me in college. In school, I always felt that like everyone knew me, everyone knew my story. Like, we were all in first year when my mum passed away, so like they were all at the funeral, like everyone knew stuff about me. So I always kind of had this idea that people were only nice to me because they knew my story, and I'm not saying that's necessarily true, but I always just thought people were nice to me because of that. So I was going to college, and I was like, well, now I'm going to have like friends that don't know anything about me, and like people that will like me just because of me and not because of what I've gone through, and because they won't know. So that worked, and college went really well for the first couple of months. I was that outgoing, confident person, the life of the party, and I suppose looking back on it, it probably was a bit of a mask, but I was happy because I was being who I wanted to be. And then after Christmas of first year in college, my anxiety came back, and it came back much tougher than the first time around. I still had all the same symptoms that I've talked about. So I had headaches, not being able to sleep, sweaty, like clammy hands, unable to hear, unable to see, crying, heart palpitations, loss of breath. I had all of that still. But I also, like, I couldn't leave the house. I went to school, or I went to college, and then I went to work, and then that was it. The weekends I wouldn't make an effort to see anybody. I didn't want to see anybody. If they made arrangements, I'd probably not go. I usually see my family on a Sunday, and I'd stop going to see my family. I couldn't ring on a doorbell. I couldn't ring somebody's phone. I couldn't do anything. Like, if we were out somewhere having something to eat, I couldn't ask for a napkin, or I couldn't ask for like a knife if I didn't have a knife. I couldn't do any, like, I really couldn't. And like I said, I couldn't make a phone call. Like, I couldn't order my Chinese on the weekend, which, if you know me, like, Chinese is a big part of my life. Like, I love a Chinese on a Saturday night. So not being able to like order, I'd always have to get somebody else to do it. It's not a nice space to be in at all. Like, it really isn't. So I went to my dad and I said, I think it's time, I need to get some help. So he said, no problem. We found a counsellor, and I went to a counsellor. I went, I think, every week for about 6 months. And it did work. We did like cognitive behavioural therapy, which did, like, I think it helped. It did help. I felt happier. Then with counselling, like, the better you start to feel, if you feel like you can, like, you don't need to go as much, you start to wean off it. So I did that, and I eventually got to the point where I stopped going. And that was fine. Like, I genuinely was happier. I was feeling better in myself. The anxiety had kind of gone away, and that was all fine. And then we got to kind of a couple of months after I finished counselling, and I got into like a bad relationship. It was a toxic relationship. I'm not going to go into detail about it here. I do have a blog up about it, but it wasn't a good relationship to be in, and it wasn't good for my mental health. I lost all my confidence in myself, and my anxiety came back. And at that point, I had a few bad experiences with counselling in the last couple of sessions I went to. So I decided that, you know what, if I'm going to do it, I need to do it, not me going to a counsellor. And one thing that was kind of like a light bulb moment for me at that point was when I first kind of experienced anxiety in 6th year. My dad's partner said to me, like, you know, you can change it. If you don't want to feel like this, you don't have to feel like this. And at the time, I was just so engrossed by it that I was like, what are you talking about? Like, of course I'm going to feel like this. I can't not feel like this. This is who I am now, and I just have to learn, like, how to stop it, or if I do have it, like, how to deal with it, because, like, this is just my life now. This is who I am. And at the point that I'm talking about now, where after coming out of the relationship, and I was like, I need help, I need to get myself back on track, but I'm not going back to the counsellor. That's when I really understood what she had said to me, that, like, okay, I can change this. I don't want to feel like this way. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want my life to be about this anymore. So, like, let's get rid of it. And I did. I started on that journey. But during that journey that I was on, I was doing some work experience. And this is nothing to do with, like, where I was. It was about me, that I really just wasn't in a good space. I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, and I suppose I was, like, caring too much about what people thought of me, that my anxiety came back. And it kind of came back, completely different. I'm not going to say it was worse, because it wasn't worse or better, it was just different. And the same thing happened. I didn't know what it was. I had to look it up on the internet to see what it was, and it turned out it was just different symptoms. But the symptoms this time was that I'd get, like, really faint, or I'd get like pins and needles in my legs as well. So I started to feel faint, then I'd get, like, pins and needles, and then I'd still have the heart palpitations, and I'd still, like, be like, losing my hearing and my eyesight and stuff. But then when I'd have the panic attack, my legs were frozen. I would be really, really faint, like I'd be about to pass out. And then there is an official name for this, but I'm not sure the official name, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce it or anything like that. So basically, my hand would become paralysed, or a part of my body would become paralysed. I remember one time, it was like the worst one I had, and I was out with my colleague, and he, like, was going to call an ambulance because he didn't know what was going on, and he was like, we couldn't get me out of it. but I was like bawling, crying, was gonna faint, couldn't walk because like I was frozen because of my legs, and then my hand, like my thumb was like here. I can't even do it now, so I don't know how it happened, but like my thumb was there, my hands were all crinkled like this, and I couldn't straighten it, I couldn't fix it, it was just paralyzed. And then like as well my face, so it felt like this half of my face was fine, but this half of my face was all drooping, and it wasn't, but that's how it felt. And it was just, to be honest, it was like the scariest time because I didn't know what it was, and then even when I did know what it was just like, it was just a scary experience to be in that situation. So I decided, you know what, I'm working on myself, but I need something extra here. So I went to the doctors and I decided to go on some medication. I'm not going to sit here and say the medication was great or that it was terrible. I'm not a big fan of medication anyway, like even like Nurofen or Panadol. If I do take it, it's only when I'm like really bad, and that's usually how you know that I'm really bad, is when I do decide to take it, because otherwise I'll just suffer on through. I'll soldier on through. So yeah, when I decided to go on the medication, I was just like, look, let's just see if it works. As I said, I'm not saying it didn't and I'm not saying it did. I think it might have benefited. It might have benefited me, and I wasn't on them for long. I didn't like the person. It's just a personal feeling. Like some people it works wonders for, and other people it doesn't work at all for. Personally, I just didn't really want to be on them anymore. I didn't feel the need to be on them anymore because I was definitely starting to become happier, whether that was to do with the tablets or not. And I was also on this like journey of getting myself through it. I was coming to the end of my work experience, so I was feeling happy. So I just decided to come off them. I think I was on them for about maybe 3 or 4 months, so not long at all. I don't even know if that's long enough to have an effect, but anyway, I'm just sharing that info. And yeah, I finished my work experience, I felt much happier, and I was like, right, so we're going into 4th year, it's our final year, notorious for being stressful because you have your thesis or dissertation, and it's just, you want to get the best grades you can get, like, so, and me being me, put lots of pressure on myself and always had to get like top grades, and I wanted my 1-1, I wanted my top grade. So I decided to go into 4th year telling myself, I was like, no, I've got my 1-1. At that point, I think you can work it out. I don't think I worked it out right anyway, but from like your results from the couple of years beforehand, I think I knew I was on track for a 1-1, or I was already in that circle. But I went in with the attitude, I'm getting a 1-1, but I'm not going to stress. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't stress. I didn't have one panic attack. I think I cried once, but in the very, very beginning, and that might not have even happened. I didn't stress about it. I was the one helping my other friends who were stressing about it, and I just trucked on through with it, consistently did my work, and I got my 1-1 in the end. And I'm delighted, to be honest. Like, I was so proud of myself. Like, I did it. I didn't need to do all the stress. I had told myself I was getting, so I think this is kind of how the law of attraction stuff works, is that like I told myself I was getting it, so I worked. My brain knew how much I needed to work to get me to that point, and that's what I did. And I didn't let it get in on me. I just went through it, and like honestly, 4th year was so good because of that, because I didn't put that pressure on myself. And I think that's what we need to do with life, like with any exams, the Leaving Cert, college exams, they're just not worth it, you know, like they're really not, they're not worth compromising your mental health. So yeah, I think where I am today with it is that I'm fine. I do have feelings of anxiousness because that's a human feeling, and we all feel happy, we all feel sad, we all feel angry, nervous, excited, anxious. So I'm on the same level as everyone else. I think I do have times where I do have a mini panic attack, as it kind of like a relapse, but that's normal and it doesn't last for long. And now I know as well what to do to get myself through it, so it's fine. But yeah, I think that's kind of my story with it. I wanted to share that with you guys because for multiple reasons. For one, so you know that you're not alone, and that here I am. I went through what you are going through, or similar to what you're going through, and I came out on the other side just like you will and you can. Also for anyone who maybe is experiencing these things like the way I was but didn't know what it was, and that I had to look it up on Google. I'm not saying you haven't, or that like you can't do that, but maybe this video, when you're listening to, you're like, oh yeah, that sounds like maybe this is what it is. And if it is, don't panic about it. Like, that's fine, you're aware of it now, and actually knowing what it is definitely helps. Just like accept it and kind of get on with it. But yeah, I hope this video will help somebody or multiple people. And if you are someone who's going through your leaving cert or a junior cert or anything in life, like, just know it will be okay. You will get through it. You'll get to do what you want to do, and like, life just has a great way of turning out. So just trust it and work hard, but don't get to the point where you're not eating, because that's like, this is where you need to be, and that's all the way over there. It's like, yeah, it's over there, so you don't need to do that. And just tell someone. That's the biggest thing I can tell you. Like, talking is so important. Even if it's a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, a teacher that you get on well with, or if like one of your friends, or if you have like an older friend, because anybody, like, just talk. You can even talk to me, I don't mind, I'm always here. But just to say, like, okay, this is how I'm feeling, and a problem, like, it's an age-old saying, but like, a problem shared is a problem halved. You genuinely will feel so much better just for getting it out there. Because I think, going back to what I was saying in the beginning about feeling anxious, you just feel like you're alone. You feel like you're the only one who knows what's going on, so you carry it around with you, like it's a weight on your shoulders. So even just opening up about it definitely does help. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you're all doing well, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this video, and hopefully you can share it with someone that you think might need it, or hopefully it might help you if you needed to hear it. But just remember, we're all a lot more alike than we are different, so you're not alone in this, and for want of a better way, it is normal, and you will get through it, and you can get through it. So yeah, please subscribe and like, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!